Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Here this time I'm bringing you some new details about Greedfall 2. The upcoming sequel to Greedfall, of course, from developer Spiders, and we've finally gotten some information on it, including its initial release into early access. More on that in a moment alongside a few other details, all laid out in the Connect event, which talks about a bunch of games coming out being public. Listed, of course, by Nacon. Now I do want to stress here towards the beginning that while this is fresh information, a lot of it I would say was in some ways a given and they did not drop a gameplay trailer, but rather just a cinematic trailer. For the most part, that showed off the basics of the new setting and world that they're trying to build here. That said, this is remarkable for Spiders because this is their first sequel they've never done. A new trailer for Greedfall 2, The Dying World, reveals that the game is launching into early access via Steam sometime this summer. The sequel to developer Spiders' 2019 RPG, Greedfall, was first announced in 2022. Premiering during last week's Nacon Connect event, the trailer shows off the game's customizable protagonist, a captured native of the previous game's setting of Tir, 3 years before the events of the first Greedfall. Forcibly relocated to the colonist continent of Nacon, you must escape by any means necessary. Like the first game, that includes using force, diplomacy, or cunning to forge your own choice-driven journey on this unfamiliar continent. The game features several factions to join and/or battle with, along with companions, romance options, and a revamped combat system with players controlling 4 characters at once. Developer Spiders has announced Greedfall 2: The Dying World, a sequel to its 2019 role-playing game Greedfall. The game takes place 3 years after the events of Greedfall. Players control a native of Tir, the first game's island setting, who is captured and taken to the continent of Nacon. This nation is the home of the invading colonists, and it has fallen due to a combination of a deadly plague and political infighting between various factions. It's up to you to prevent this unfamiliar land and your home from succumbing to disaster. Like the first game, players can solve problems using diplomacy or aggression. Spiders also promises Greedfall 2 boasts new mechanics and more tactical combat, but doesn't elaborate on either bullet point. The studio currently has its hands full creating Steel Rising, its French Revolution action RPG slated for September. Thus, Greedfall 2: The Dying World won't arrive until 2024 for PC and unspecified consoles. The first Greedfall had cool ideas, but it ultimately left us wanting more. We're curious to see how the sequel builds upon its solid foundation. Spider says Greedfall 2 is far more ambitious in scope, so it has decided to launch the game in early access via Steam to gather valuable feedback from players. Spiders also shares this initial version of the game will feature the entire beginning of the game, and players can explore roughly a quarter of the game's full content. The game will receive regular updates, but saves will not be compatible between these different updates. You can learn more about what Greedfall 2 entails by watching the developer deep dive video. Once its early access period concludes, Greedfall 2: The Dying World is slated to release on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC. The studio has higher hopes for its sequel. Greedfall 2 is certainly a much more ambitious game than the first one, said producer Reda Isber during a recent livestream as part of Nacon Connect. So what are your thoughts? And what you think about this upcoming game? Share your opinions in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more gaming updates. Until next time, happy gaming.